Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Subtle Blood by K.J. Charles. Narrated by Cornell Collins. Chapter 1. Will Darling was selling books. That was his job these days, and it brought him into contact with a pretty peculiar lot of people. Right now he was selling them to a specialist antiquarian book dealer off the Charing Cross Road, which was an experience all its own. He'd only been running Darling's Used and Antiquarian since last October. As a novice in the misanthropic and surprisingly brutal world of old books, he'd found his colleagues in the trade very ready to share their opinions of his incompetence. So he was enjoying his current meeting a lot more than he probably should. It was quite entertaining to be underestimated when you had a secret weapon. Mr. Deansbrook, whose tiny paper dump of a shop specialized in music, leafed through the list Will had handed him a second time, and pursed his mouth. "This is the Aveston collection." "It is, yes." "They're selling off the Aveston music collection." "That's right. The Aveston collection," Deansbrook repeated, in case they had misunderstood one another. "And you're handling it. How the devil did you get that? Why didn't they give it to me? Or Hughes, even? Good heavens, I could throw a brick from my doorway and hit half a dozen better men for the job. No offence," he added rather too late. "None taken," Will said cheerily. "Interested in anything at all?" The list, as he well knew, comprised most of Deansbrook's hopes, dreams, and sexual fantasies. Since he shared the deceased Lord Aveston's love of Elizabethan and Jacobean music, Will couldn't tell a madrigal from a macaroon, but he hadn't got the job for his bibliographic skills. In fact, he'd spent much of his time with the Avestons simply chatting to the new Viscount, a pleasantly dim young man who was far more interested in swapping war stories and rattling on about cricket than in anything that might be classed as intellectual pursuits. That had been fun in itself. Will had enjoyed fossicking about the impressive library too, not to mention staying in a stately home where nobody was trying to kill him. That made a change. Mostly, though, he now had the opportunity to repay Deansbrook for a lot of jibes, and he planned to do that in full. Deansbrook went through the list, and made the sort of offer you might make to a man who didn't know what he was about. Will returned a kindly smile, and a figure 5 times higher. They spent some time exchanging professional observations, personal reflections, and abstract musings on the concept of honesty, and finally settled on 3.5 times the initial offer, or £10 over Will's private take-it-or-leave-it figure. Deansbrook mopped his brow with a grimy handkerchief, leaving a faint line of book dust where the sweat had been. It was a hot June day, and he didn't believe in open windows. "Well, that's settled. Are you going to tell me how you came to handle Aveston? I really would have thought they'd come to me." "I had the inside track, I'm afraid," Will said with an apologetic air that wasn't convincing, or meant to be. "I'm working with a chap who knows the family." "I heard you'd taken on a partner, but I didn't believe it. There can't be the money in your place." Will ignored the accurate disparagement of his business, though it's an unofficial arrangement. To be honest, he's more of a— He cleared his throat and lowered his voice, because you didn't have to be a book dealer long to learn which were the bad words. Bibliophile. Deansbrook sucked air through his teeth. "Sensible chap, though," Will hastened to add. "Knows his stuff. Completed a very nice set of fielding for me just the other day." Deansbrook repeated. "How did you come by this chap?" Will shrugged, smiled, and offered him the general list from the Aveston library to look through. That put an end to conversation for the moment.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?